Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ng. I'm your MC today and also the core speaker for today's topic. So let's look at our today's topic, which you should already know. What is ACCA and how to become an accountant? So with me today, I have a lead speaker, which is Mr. Lau Chin An. So let me welcome Mr. Lau Chin An to come into the studio.
Hi everyone,
Hi, Mr. Lau.
good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. All right, so before we begin the topic, we would like to introduce a little bit about ourselves, our organization. So we are Genesis Origo, and the following slide will be able to explain about ourselves. So I'd like Mr. Lau to tell us a bit of background about Genesis Origo.
Yeah, thank you, Kentak. Basically, Genesis Origo is an ACCA approved provider. By the way, we are also an HRDC approved provider as well. So which means we don't just provide trainings to students, we also provide practical training to adults, to corporations. As you can also see that our team made up of experts and accountants, practitioners, licensed capital market representative, and even we have directors of listed companies. And actually, we have a pool of trainers that's associated with us. Because Genesis Origo is also an e-learning platform that we provide a range of courses. Of course, today our focus is ACCA. We actually have students from all over the world that have actually studied or used our e-learning platform before. Just to name a few here, we have students from Brunei, China, Kenya, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, and even South Korea. Back to you, Mr. Ng.
Okay, so very thank you, Mr. Lau, as our lecturers also, and also trainer at Genesis Origo. So Mr. Lau, perhaps you can help us a bit more about yourself.
Yeah, myself is also a chartered accountant. I myself is an ACCA, or if you normally see people say FCCA means the older ACCA. I'm the director of Genesis Origo. In terms of teaching and training, I've got more than 20 years of experience, and currently I'm also sitting in the board of two public companies in Malaysia. So that's a bit about myself. What about you, Mr. Ng? Maybe you want to introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. Right. So I'm also an accountant like Mr. Lau and also an FCPA. So as Mr. Lau said, when age is catching up, we will get the fellowship membership from ACCA. So having an ACCA, which we'll discuss about, is a route to become an accountant, will not automatically make you an accountant in Malaysia. So I'm also a chartered accountant in Malaysia and also an MBA holder. Currently, I'm the lecturer, trainer, and also consultant of Genesis Origo, occupying 3 roles, but with only 1 pay. All right. All right. So a chartered accountant in Malaysia, I got more than 10 years in the experience in the industry, specializing in corporate reporting, tax audit, auditing, and consultancy. So in terms of my teaching and training experience, I've been 12 years already. This is year number 12. I became a teacher. All right, so let's move on a little bit then. So what exactly is ACCA? So ACCA is an association in UK that they offer examinations, certifications, and memberships to the students all over the world. If you look at the slides here, the second paragraph here, ACCA supports more than 200,000 members. So these members were graduated and accredited with their at least 36 months working experience. And in terms of number of students, there are 500,000, more than 500,000 students worldwide currently. And their certificates are recognized by almost 200 countries at the moment. So in terms of the recognition, this is really a world-class and global certification to be an accountant. All right. So before we move on a little bit further, we would like to have a little bit of ice-breaking game here. All right. So let me move this. This is an ice-breaking exercise. So after listening to a brief explanation about ACCA, recognized by almost 200 countries in the world and this that, so perhaps the audience can use one word to describe ACCA exam, just one word, and then we'll see the result. So perhaps I will be giving you some 20 seconds, all right, to think about it, and then we shall compare the response from you.
When I see this, I think there's a lot of words that come to my mind.
How to say that, Mr. Lau?
Well, I've more than 20 years in the industry, talking to even parents, practitioners, ex-students. I'm sure that they all have very different perception about ACCA. If you Okay, I think we have one already participated and mentioned is challenging. Yeah, I think that's quite a common word that we always get, challenging.
Okay, challenging.
I have heard people say it's impossible to pass also.
So what makes you
We
study ACCA, Mr. Lau?
Okay, I come to ACCA. I wouldn't say by accident, lah, but I think the reason why I do ACCA is a bit of inspired by my tuition teacher and also my uncle. My uncle is actually an ACCA himself. So he has been telling us that, okay, you all better grow up and do ACCA, it's very useful qualification. Then I remember there's this one tuition class that I attended when I'm in school day, by the name of Mr. Bong, but I won't share the tuition name. Okay.
I
So
know.
I remember in the front, he was writing and sharing with us how much different jobs can earn. And all of a sudden, he wrote that ACCA, and he wrote something like 1 million. Sorry, I really can't remember exactly. But immediately my eyes opened, like, wow, I can earn so much money. Then I also say, okay, lah, then I want to study ACCA in the future. Lah.
Okay, maybe I'll also share a little bit about myself when I'm studying ACCA. Those days I came from a poor family, so I don't think I can afford to go to the usual college or usual university and this that. So I came across the ACCA course by an accident. It's actually introduced by my classmate in the secondary school. So he told me he was doing ACCA at that time. It's precisely the CAT course, the first year of ACCA, when we were 16 years old. So I was surprised by this, that at 16 years old, you can take a UK course. So how does it work? So he told me about the flexibility that ACC can give us, is that you do not need to actually commit yourself for some 3 to 4 years. You can actually take paper by paper. If you have the time, if you have the resources, you can take the exams. Otherwise, you can just go to work, get some income, and then we'll come back and study. So eventually, he graduated at the age of 19, and I'm not sure whether he's watching this live at the moment. Then he moved to Singapore and started his career. So after my SPM, then I joined in this ACCA by his recommendation. But I didn't know that it is actually one of the toughest accounting courses in the world. But I think we just went through. I mean, I passed all the exams, so I passed all the exams, and that's why we are all here. All right. So what I can see here is our participants, the audience, they are a bit shy here. So far, only get one message, which is this is challenging. So I think we do have a common misconception here. Like me and Ms. La attended training a few days ago. So we mentioned to the trainer that we conduct ACCA classes. Then the first response from the trainer was, "This is a tough course." So then I asked the trainer, "Oh, you also ACCA? This is a tough course?" He said, "No, I'm from engineering background." So I mean, I'm not surprising to hear people saying ACCA course is tough, but coming from a different industry also, they're saying that ACCA course is tough. That is a bit to my surprise. So I believe there are a lot of misconceptions of people towards the ACCA course, which today we would like to take this opportunity to explain a little bit to you. So our next thing after this ice breaking is we have our first misconception. ACCA exams are hard, and it is very hard, like what Mr. Lau said just now. It is impossible hearing from people. It's very hard to pass that. So perhaps Mr. Lau would like to elaborate a little bit on this. ACCA are tough and very hard to pass.
Okay, I think, okay, first of all, if I'm here to tell you ACCA exam is easy and is a piece of cake, I think I'm here to lie to you lah. Okay. Now, I think all of us have to basically have a balanced perspective that we cannot deny ACCA is a professional exam. It is an external exam, which means people like us, when we teach the course to you, we cannot tell you, hey, that's coming out in the exam, you just study that. We can't do that. So that basically increased the difficulty of the exam. They do have a demanding part that you need to show your competency before they can grant you a pass. But the misconception that I would share is because now I would just share an example that a lot of people still didn't know, especially the more senior that has heard about ACCA in the past, but basically they have not updated. Now, I came from the time where we actually uses this thing called the modular system. So example, you have to go for exam, 3 papers in one go. And assuming if you fail one of the paper, like below 30 marks, right, you actually have to resit the entire 3 papers, even if you pass the other 2. So this is one of those factors that increase the difficulty of the exam, and a lot of people shy away from ACCA. But you see, ACCA recognize that things change, environments are not the same as before. For example, the nature of work that people have, the amount of commitment that people have. So they have also responded to the situations that we go through. We no longer have a modular requirement because we thought that what you need to test the competency of an accountant is not about forcing them to take a lot of paper at the same time. We are not testing how good is your memory. In fact, memory is not an important factor about whether or not you can do a good job. It's the application. So that's why the style of testing student, the style of evaluating student has changed. But that kind of perceptions that people used to have in the past, it stays, you see. When you keep telling people like, oh, it's a very tough exam, it's a very tough exam. So that thing has stayed and haunted a lot of people. So if you have that kind of perception, I think this is the best time for us to clarify that no, it's no longer true. But if you're thinking like it's a very easy paper, I definitely won't say that's true. It's a paper that it requires effort. But if you have effort, you have the right way, methodologies, you get the right content, it's actually achievable. It's not that scary, actually. That's a bit of my view, my sharing about is it true that ACCA is so hard to pass? I wouldn't say so. Back to you, Mr. Ng.
Right, thank you, Mr. Lau, for the sharing. So allow me to add in some words here that I think over the years, we had enough of the opinion from people offering their opinion that ACCA are tough and this, that. So I won't deny that ACCA exams are not easy, but it is not actually impossible to pass. And actually, there are more good words about ACCA that we can tell, other than ACCA, very tough. Why not people start to change the perception is ACCA, I know they are highly recognized by the world. So you have the qualification, perhaps you can go in everywhere. Go to Singapore, you go to Australia, go to UK, you go to Hong Kong, go to China. People accept you. So I hope over the time we're able to change the perceptions that we would like to hear a bit more good things about ACCA rather than as a common opinion that it's tough, right? So let's look at now the next thing, okay, which is the topic for today. How to become a chartered accountant in Malaysia via the route. So to do that, right, I would like to share the slide here. Okay, route to become an ACCA member, we have to take some certifications. before you can become a chartered accountant. So when you sign up with ACCA, they will just check your entry requirement. So in Malaysia, you got to have SPM or A level or your LCI. So these are the selected prerequisites that are required by ACCA. They do have other entry routes, but you would like to know more, then you can log into the genesisorigo.com. So we have the explanation there. We can contact one of our customer service or our staff. They can give you more detail here. So once you fulfill the entry requirement, you will be ready for the exam. So at the first level, we require knowledge level, applied knowledge level, commonly described knowledge level. You've got 3 papers to complete. Once you complete the 3 papers, you move to the second layer, which is skill level. You got 6 papers to complete. And then the final strategic level, you've got 4 papers to complete. So at the strategic level, the professional strategic level, we got 6 papers, but you only need to complete 4. So out of 6, 2 are essential, which you must sit on, and another 2, they are optional paper, which you can choose 2 out of 4 to complete them. Now, so once you have completed these 3 levels, right, you'll be awarded a status as an ACCA affiliate. So unfortunately, to tell you at this point, you're not yet an accountant, because being an accountant is not just about taking examination. Your certification is more than just taking exam. You have to demonstrate your practical capability by completing a 36 months. Okay, allow me to remove the banner because it's blocking some text here. Okay, so you have to complete or gain 36 months practical experience. You can acquire this 36 months experience before you join ACCA, before you fulfill the first stage, the prerequisite, or during you study ACCA, or even after. So once you have accumulated 36 months working experience, then you can apply to be a full member. All right, so just a slide here. You can apply to be full member. So there's a congratulations here. You're now finally, after the 6 months experience, an ACCA full membership. But I think that you're an accountant at the moment. Well, I would say as a general, you are an accountant, that it's not wrong for people to call you that. But we also have to take note of the specific country house rules. Like in Malaysia, for example, the title of accountant is well protected by the Accountant Act. So you cannot call yourself as an accountant in Malaysia unless you are certified by Malaysian Institute of Accountants. So how you can do that is you can bring your ACCA full membership. They do not accept affiliate because MIA would like to look at your 36 months practical experience as well. So you can bring your ACCA full membership, apply to MIA, Malaysian Institute of Accountant, then they will grant you the chartered accountantship, your title in Malaysia. So that means this title is only workable in our country. If you would like to go to Singapore and continue to be called as an accountant, you have to comply with the Singaporean government accounting. You go to Thailand, you go to Australia, go to UK, go to Hong Kong, it's all about the same thing. Because each country will have their house rule. But by achieving the ACCA qualification, it is by general people understand that you're an accountant. So even though you are not certified as a chartered accountant in a country, there's no problem for you to get a job and be recognized as an accountant. So, Mr. Lau, would you like to explain to the audience, if we talk about the entry, let's say someone have the A level, LCCI, or STPM, the moment they step into this, completing the 3 papers, 6 papers, or route to be a chartered accountant, roughly it will take how long?
Okay. Now, I'll just start from adding to the point that what Mr. Ng has shared with you. To be a chartered accountant in Malaysia, like what Mr. Ng has said, this word accountant is actually a protected word. If you are not an accountant, you simply print a name card and put there accountant, you actually violated the law. So actually accountant is a quite a wonderful word to give yourself as a title, right? Now, to be a chartered accountant in Malaysia, you can actually be, for example, like what Mr. Ng has said, you are one of the member of those recognized professional body, and ACCA is one of them. Okay, now of course, besides ACCA, we have body like CIMA, ICAW. So some of you might have heard of them, okay. Other than that, you also realize that you can join is MIA membership if, let's say, you are a graduate, for example, from local universities. Okay, for instance, you say I graduated accounting degree from a private university, right? Can I become MIA member? Well, technically, if you just say generally speaking, the answer is no, because MIA does not recognize that. So what are you supposed to do? Now, you have one way to come in from that degree that you got from a private university, for example, and then you come into ACCA with some exemptions. Then you finish your ACCAs, acquire your practical experience, then you apply to be an MIA member. Now, this is already one of the route that I think I would have shared with you. That means there are some students that they have completed their accounting degree, or they have actually completed some other academic qualification, like they finish a diploma, not just accounting. You can even do a engineering degree and then you come and do ACCA, which we have students like that. But to a more generalized group that we are saying at the entry level, most students will enter ACCA, if let's say after your STPM, after your A level, or even after LCCI, you can already come in and start your ACCA. Now, we do see ACCA want students to have some kind of basic foundation before they want you to come in and study. Because if you say, right after SPM, I want to do ACCA, we want to basically share that it's not to say you can't. There's still some other routes that open to that, but you will find that maturity is going to be an issue because you're dealing with very practical subjects that apply in their real life, and you also deal with a lot of very technical things that we come across. So, which means your maturity matters. Number two, we also believe that if you have brushed yourself with a proper foundation, it's actually going to help a lot more in your study journey. So generally, if you ask me, I would say that it will be okay if you have got an A level, if you have got an STPM, if you've got an LCCI, or if you have studied some kind of foundation program, or you finish a diploma, you can come in. Now, but I just want to address to another group of students, which actually there's a big group out there, because groups like, I'm a working adult. Let's say I'm already 35 years old this year, or I'm 40 years old this year, and I never had a formal qualification. Maybe I finished my studies back then many years ago. I came into the job, I've been working, and I realized that there is a point I want to upgrade myself. Especially they see that this is very relevant for their career progression. Yes, it's also possible because professional qualification has that kind of flexibility that allows you to even join this study, and then we allow you to progress. But of course, there's a lot of all the tiny differences in terms of the rule, which I don't think we want to use this time to share in the screen, because some of you say, this is not so relevant to me. So if you really want to know whether it applies to you, the best way is you can always contact us. It doesn't matter even if you say that I don't really have a interest to study it, but I just want to know more. What's the harm? Contact us, and then we can give you a bit of sharing. You can get counseling from us. We just think that it's good to even open up another opportunity. So that's a bit about the entry route. Can I pass back to you, Mr. Ng?
Okay, thank you for the sharing, Mr. Lau. So up next, we would like to clear one of the common misunderstanding is that when we are studying accounting course, it's just about accounting. So are you an accountant? Debit, credit. That's all we have. So we have to take this opportunity to show to all of you that the ACCA exam structure will cover more than just about accounting. So if I present this slide here, which is extracted from the ACCA website, so perhaps Mr. Lau can give some elaboration on this.
Okay. Now, the first thing I want to share with our audience is if you want to be a good accountant, you don't really need to be good in math. Now, I find this is another common misconception. People always think that accountants count a lot. And when you count a lot, you need to be very good in math. Not true, because when we count a lot, we don't use our brain, or they call 心算, mental arithmetic, all that. We don't do that. Everything is computerized. We have good calculators, we have good Excel. So we don't really need you to be very good to count, but we think you need to be very sensitive with numbers. So sensitive with numbers means you must be able to look at the number and then you start to say like, something is not right with these numbers, and you're able to tell a story from the numbers, and that don't really come from math lah. Okay, now if I would just share a bit from the screen with you, you can see now how many subjects we need to study in ACCA. Just focus on the red color bar. So applied knowledge, you can see that there are 3 bars, right? And then applied skills, there are 6. Then after that, you notice there's a gray color section called ethics and professional skills module. That is not a paper that you will need to attend a class. I will share a bit with you later. Then towards the last part, you notice that there are 2 red bars called essentials. It might be a bit small from your screen, but you can see the word essentials. And then you notice that the word strategic business leader, strategic business reporting. Now, the one in red colors are those papers that you either need to pass them yourself, or you might get some exemptions along the way. For example, if you have a degree in accounting and you come and do ACCA, you could have been exempted the first 9 paper. Then you will only need to do the last 2 essential paper. Now, just now, Mr. Ng did mention about options. You notice that options, they say pick 2. This is the last box to the right. And then there are 4 papers called advanced something, okay? So these are the advanced level module that you need to do 2 to finish off your ACCA. So if I would just share, assuming in a more common situation, let's say I have finished off the entry level qualification. I have an LCCI, for example, or I did an STPM. Okay, another point is we do have students from STPM that they are not accounting student. We have pure science student, and they actually did very well. In fact, they became a prize winner and scored the highest mark in the whole country. And you'll be surprised. You mean science students study physics, bio, and score in ACCA? The answer is yes. You don't really need to have an accounting background to start ACCA. Of course, it helps, but you don't really need that. Now, so if let's say I got my STPM or my LCCI, I will begin off with what we call applied knowledge. This is the basic qualifications that help to build your knowledge. You have 3 papers to finish off. Now, I will just roughly give you a basic idea based on the title of the paper. Now, you notice the first paper is called Business Technology. So I think you know roughly is to introduce you to the business world, is to tell you a bit about the new stuff, how technology has changed the way we do business. So that will be a bit of intro at that stage. Then you do financial accountings and you do management accounting. Now, this will be the basic papers that you're going to start with. It can be completed as fast as 6 months. So if you look at GO, usually we only need about 4 months to teach you. The 5th month will prepare you to a revision. That means whatever you learn in 4 months, will teach you all over again. And then we prepare you for the exam. So the 6th month, you sit for exam, you should have completed the applied knowledge. I think, Mr. later, you're going to share with them the certification, right? So
Sure,
I will not, so I will not mention that. Now, then when you come to applied skills, right? Now, this is where the students that has finished some of the paper, I didn't say even you passed the paper, I said you finished, that means you've completed your study. You have acquired the knowledge, and you can actually go out and work. A lot of firms out there are taking ACCA students that are what we call in the mid-level, okay? Now, the first paper you saw here is actually taxation. it's a very common things that anybody in Malaysia, if you're old enough that you generate income, you got to work, you got a business, you know, you cannot run away from tax, right? Now, this is a paper that would have covered about how you need to know your responsibility about taxes. You know, I share you something, so I'm going to take a bit of your time from Mr. Ng, because I thought this might be something interesting. Now, recently, Inland Revenue went to the legal firm, lawyer's office lah. Okay, actually, it's not recently, but they went to lawyer's office and they wanted to take away the documents that the lawyer had for their client. Now, example, lawyer do a lot of cases for clients, so you must have a lot of very sensitive informations that mention about like what kind of transactions, their income, and so on. So income tax wanted to go in and take it. Why the income tax has that kind of power? Now you might be wondering, can the government do that? Now, and of course, did the lawyer allow them to take it? And what happened? You'll be thinking, wow, quite exciting. Okay, so if you find that that's something exciting, then you find that studying taxation is quite interesting. Sorry, I say a bit more because I'm actually a tax specialist, so I find tax is very interesting to me. And the same thing happened to Genting Highland also, you know. I know it's not a nice thing. Gambling is definitely something not good. All right, we don't encourage people, but I just want to share with you that this is what happened. If income tax went to Genting Highland and asked for information of those people who come and gamble, because the government thinks you can gamble, you must have a lot of money. So what happened? Okay, you want to know more, right? You must come and study. Okay, now we have paper like performance management, which tells you how you control business, you control costs if you are a person inside. So if you work in a manufacturing business, this is something that relates a lot. You know, some people, if you ask maybe your friends or what, you talk about lean manufacturing, you talk about just in time, you will come across all these things even in the studies of performance management, about how we control costs. Then we have audit. Audit is about professions that do, example, checking of accounts for fraud. So we want to assure investors that everything is okay. If you have heard of names like, okay, I'm gonna say Big Four lah. Okay, just say Big Four, like Price Waterhouse, PwC, EY, KPMG, Deloitte. So I name all of them lah. Okay. So if you heard of all these names, then they are actually famous about audit. Of course, they do a lot of other things, but audit is one of the main things that they're doing. Okay, so that's where audit comes in. So what do you learn in auditing? You learn to become detective. You learn to find what's wrong in the number. You want to see whether is anyone cheating in the numbers or not, so that you can tell the shareholders, you know, don't worry, the business is okay. That's audit. Then we have law, which is quite clear. It's all about law. Actually, law is also very important, you know, because if you don't know law, you can always be bullied. Imagine you're an employee, you go to a company, you work, and then your boss just come and tell you, oh, this thing cannot. You'll be thinking, why cannot? Huh? Then you don't know the law, right? So you will be bullied. So that's why knowing the law is very important. So that's why we have corporate law, we have business law, there are different kinds of law element that we covered. Financial reporting is the expertise of Mr. Ng. What do we study in financial reporting? Mr. Ng, can you just share a bit before I take back?
All right. So as I mentioned just now, studying ACCA exam is not just about accounting. Even though eventually you have graduated as an accountant, it doesn't mean that you need your accounting, which you'll come across that later. But you cannot deny that accounting is the bread and butter of an accountant. So while you're studying taxation, auditing, performance measurement, law, business strategy, but to the end, it is the accounting that makes us a title of an accountant. So financial reporting, starting from the financial accounting in the knowledge level, progression to skill level, financial reporting, to the strategic level, strategic business reporting. So these three are the core papers, which you cannot afford to have any failure. From accounting, it can branch out to auditing, because when you do audit, basically means checking. So what do we check? We check the accounts. So you must have an accountant for us to check. And you talk about taxation, you want to calculate taxes. So how much is the profit? where do we find the profit figure? Is from the accounts again. So that is about financial reporting, the
Okay,
conventional
thank you,
financial.
Mr. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
Okay, financial management, it's about managing finance. Finance is actually about money. Well, if any one of you are thinking about starting a business, I'm sure the first thing you need to ask yourself is, do you have the money? And I also know that some of you, social media is so rich now. There's a lot of information that we have there. You don't need to always have the money from your own saving. You can have many ways of accessing fund. And finance is basically teaching you things like that how you acquire source of funds and how you use the funds. I'm probably you've heard of this very famous word that people say, cash is king, right? If you
I
don't
normally say
manage
that.
your cash flow, you don't manage your cash flow well, you got no money to pay your worker, you're going to be in trouble. So at the end of the day, it's about managing your cash flow, and that's what finance is all about. That once you finish that 6 papers, right, you would have got a very overall fundamental knowledge needed for an accountant to know key functions that you can play in various roles. So that's why you will be very well accepted in some of the, for example, small medium industries. They will take you because you're able to perform the functions needed. Okay, finishing that 6, right? Then there is this ethics professional module, which is an online module that you will do within the systems that ACCA provide to the student. Why do you have that? Because we believe that not everything need to be taught in the class. You can have a self-learn module. And it's quite good because it's all about ethics. And ethics are very important, because you see, accountants deal with very sensitive things called numbers, and the numbers are all on figure. I can tell you that the company is doing very well, has a lot of profit, but at the end of the day, is it really there or not? So if accountants compromise their ethics, or we call the moral standards, and if they give into this kind of thing and they lie in the numbers, the impact can be very great. So we believe that one of the way to cultivate ethics is embedded along the study to tell people that this is the right thing to do. This is the right thing to do. It's just like corruptions. Like we all know corruption is bad, but if you keep educating people, say no to corruption, eventually we will get a generations that believe in that and they will not tolerate that. So the same thing applies to us. Accountants is to be very, very ethical, hold high values to integrity and so on. Now, let me just finish this quickly. So the last stage of ACCA is called the strategic professional level. There are 4 papers only. So there are a lot of example like degree holder. I saw actually a question from Miss Jenny Koo. I think we will answer that. It's very interesting. She said that actually I graduated degree in banking with honor. Can I take ACCA program? Or do I need to do ACCA foundation first? Now, yes, she already has a degree. And can you do ACCA? The answer is yes, you can. Do you need to start all over again from the beginning? Now, we have to look at what is inside your banking degree, because we have to look at whether your qualification is accounting related or not accounting related. So they will actually have a way of assessing, depending on where you study. If the institution has already been vetted by ACCA, and then they know your syllabus, then you might get more exemption. So the way to answer to that is you have to go through an assessment. You can actually contact us also. We can help you to do a check to let you know whether you get more exemption or less exemption. But yes, I don't think your exemption is going to be a lot. But with a banking degree, I think you must have covered some finance related stuff, and then you probably will do some basic accounting. If you have that, then you might get some exemption. All right. Okay, Mr. Ng, can I just go back to the chart again? Sorry, you have taken it off. I just want to finish off with the paper. Sorry, this take a bit long, but I thought that it's important you know what you're going in. Can you imagine you buy something that you don't know what you're buying? That's very dangerous. A lot of people just say, "Is you say good? Okay, so the mother enrolled the son to study, but don't know what you're there. Then you went in, you don't even know what you're studying. Why not just understand what you're getting? Then only you come in so that you feel like you're informed. Okay. The final thing is just to finish out this strategic level with 4 papers. So the strategic business leader, it's a strategy related paper. I just want to like teach you how to become a better businessman. You can be a CEO, CFO, you're at the C-suite position from the knowledge acquired here. And then SBR is an advance of financial reporting. Then we can go advanced with other topics like advanced audit, advanced finance, advanced performance management, advanced taxation. All right. So advanced taxation is where you learn a lot of very interesting things. So I'm very biased because I love taxation more than anything else. All right. But think about if you have a multinational that has businesses. I mean, just think about a company like Google. They call Alphabet. They are a worldwide business, but they set up offices around the world. And they have transactions with each other. And how do you even imagine their income tax that involves so many countries? So all this is where the advanced aspects comes in, and we deal a lot with things called transfer pricing. If you just go and Google transfer pricing, you see it's a big thing. People earn a lot of money from there, you know. Okay, so Mr. I'm going to pass back to you.
Yeah, I would like to add on to what Ms. Lau has discussed just now. We're still on this slide here. So every time we look at these few papers, right, it's we can't help ourselves to get excited to it. I remember in my early days of teaching, I was teaching this diploma program. So I'm handling only the financial accounting paper. So I had a chat with my students, there's like casual chat. During the break time, I asked them, how many papers you have for your entire diploma? So the diploma takes about 1 year plus, less than 2 years, and they told me they got to sit for 28 papers for the diploma. So I was in a great shock because 28 is like double of ACCA paper, and you only get a diploma. So why don't you do ACCA? Because if you look at ACCA, once you finish the knowledge level plus the skill level, 3 plus 6, 9 papers, in UK, at least the UK standard, you are already recognized as a bachelor degree holder. Yeah. If you finish a strategic professional in UK, right, they recognize it at the master level. So we just hold in total 13 papers, and you don't need to take 28 papers to just do a diploma. But the reply from the students is really worth thinking, is that they say, I don't want to do ACCA. Number one, they are tough. Again, the standard answer from them. From everybody, they're tough. And number two is, if I cannot pass any of the ACCA paper, let's say touch wood, I cannot pass, then I don't get a certificate at all. I just don't get a certificate at all. I think I don't think so, because when you study ACCA, most likely you will enroll back to the same industry. So your future employer, your future manager will most likely know what you're doing. So as long as you are partly completed the ACCA exam, you've completed like, let's say 6 to 7 papers, they'll be more than happy to take you. And they know that you have that kind of quality, sitting for one of the toughest accounting courses in the world, they'll be more than happy to take you. But also, I think I realized that unfortunately out there in the market, right, we do have the HR particularly, I think the HR, they do not understand about this ACCA course, right? So what can we do about that? Do we really have to sit through the whole 13 papers before we get the certificate? So that is what we got to see next then. Okay, so allow me to go back to the slide here. Yeah, I'm navigating the slides here. So I would like to invoke Mr. Lau as well at the same time with my banner. So what we are doing here now is we are talking about certificates at each stage. Certificates. So what kind of certificates that we are talking about? All right, so if you only completed the 3 papers, only 3 papers, all right, and then you also complete a foundation in professionalism in ethic module. So there are 3 papers you got to enroll with us, and then you got to come cover, study, take the exam the usual way. But the professionalism ethic module, it is a computer training. You can sit for this at home at your convenience, is 24 hours a day, and the assessment, which is the exam, is also based on computer. Right? So once you've completed this, right, you get your diploma. That you do not need to go through 28 papers. those days. Now I do not know whether collegiate and university have revised their exam structure, but that is what we get. 3 papers plus a computer training, computer-based training, you get the diploma. So then you move on. You might not be happy just having a diploma. You would like to finish another 6 papers at the skill level. You finish that, and you also sit for this epic paper, the epic module, which Mithla have explained just now, the grey color thing. So you will get advanced diploma, another 6 papers. What if I want to get a degree? I might not want to finish off the ACCA because I hear people say the final year, the few papers in the final year are very tough, very difficult, it's impossible to pass. So we again have this misconception. Never mind, that's your opinion, keep your opinion to you. If you really just want a degree, you have an option here. You just add one more research. Okay, you just do a research here. Submit to UK for the evaluation. If you're qualified, then you get a degree. So I think many of us believe that we must complete all the ACCA papers, 13 papers, before we can get a certificate. It's actually due to the insufficient information that we have. It's actually wrong. It's a misconception. That is not right. So myself and Mr. Lau are both the mentor for this degree project. So perhaps Mr. Lau may want to elaborate a little bit on this, on the degree.
Okay, I think I won't elaborate about the process of the thesis writing because it's basically, it's just like writing a long essay. But I think it's important for me to share with the audience about the pathway because we heard a lot of example of people saying that I want to do a degree first, then I come and do ACCA because doing a degree means I am assured of a degree in the hand. I got a paper, then only I come and do ACCA with exemption. Maybe I do another 5 paper or 4 paper or 6 papers. Now, this is one of those a lot of common comments that we get from outside. All right. But what I want to share with you is just another option that you know that now you can actually do your ACCA, and then by completing up to the 9 paper, you already can get a degree option. So ACCA is basically telling you like you don't need to do a degree and come back and do ACCA. You can do your ACCA, and while doing ACCA, you can have a degree there. And this is a degree that's actually conferred by Oxford Brookes University from UK. You can check about that. Now, this also affirm another point that ACCA is trying to prove here, that ACCA qualification is seen or perceived to be above the degree level. That's why by just finishing the 9 paper of ACCA, even before the whole ACCA, you already have that standards that you can get a degree. So I hope that can be a good sharing for some who didn't know that. So, and another point that we can also see here is the flexibility. That means you can do the 9 paper and then you can stop your study. You might want to get this Oxford Brookes University's degree. Then you come back and do your ACCA, 5 years later, 8 years later. It's up to you. But the option is that you can't go to a university and say, I want to study a degree after 2 years. You say, I want to stop first, and then 5 years later, I come back and do your final year. You don't have that luxury, but professional studies you have. So the key here is flexibility. Can I pass back to you, Mr.?
Sure, of course, sure. Okay, now, Mr. Lau, I've been hearing a lot of good things about ACCA from you and myself, like an ACCA member. And we've been telling the audience non-stop, ACCA is good, ACCA is good. But precisely, what is the good about the ACCA? So I'm sure Mr. Lau will have a few points to share with us. So let me put it up to the slide here. The quality of ACCA qualification. So perhaps Mr. Lau will start from the clockwise, 12 o'clock first.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's actually a lot of things that we can tell people about why ACCA is a fantastic qualification. We are not just telling you it's fantastic, but we are ACCA ourselves. So that's why I think from there we can speak louder, right? Because we are not just selling you something, but we are selling you something that we are, okay? The first thing is actually the external recognitions. This is actually very important. Remember, Mr. Ng shared about ACCA is recognized by nearly 200 countries around the world. So we are talking about something that everywhere you go, people see the standards in you, which is very important, you know, because you don't want to go to a country and then you bring your paper and say that, oh, I have this qualification with me, and then people look at you and say like, I don't know. All right, but you know, you don't have that problems with ACCA, and that means we can go to the next one, the employer's recognition. Because of that kind of so-called a global standard, you have the confidence of the employer. Now, I remembered this lady, and maybe I'm going to quote her. She is my ex-colleague, Miss Christina Chong. She is also an ACCA, and she always tell me that I always want to make sure that when I hire somebody. I mean, she's a CFO of a multinational company, and she is always recruiting people. And she always tell me that I always ensure that when I hire someone that has an ACCA. Basically, we're just trying to say that because they have been through the process, they've proven themselves with the capability. So employers have confidence. And that's something that speaks loudly about this qualification. All right. Now we mentioned just now about the worldwide, you know, more than 200 countries. So can we come down to the next point about portable qualification? Now I'm just going to put a scenario here. I'm a father with 4 children. So sometimes we would like to ask the questions about the future of our next generation. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Malaysia. I always think that we should stay here and come back and serve the country and make the country better for the generations. But we also know that the world is getting more and more connected. So if, let's say, you have a qualifications that take you places, that means you got a qualifications that you say, I would like to be in Australia. And the answer is yes, you're welcome. All right. Or I want to go to, let's say, France. I want to be in UK. All right. So, or I want to go to, you know, the Middle East nations, or I want to be in Cambodia, in Vietnam. You find that there are more than 200 nations. I mean, around, I wouldn't say more, around 200 nations that actually recognize ACCA. If you go to ACCA website, there's this website called ACCA Career. You can find where around the world that there are job offers for you. And COVID also has changed the basic so-called the environment that we have. Because of working from home, people have now come to the idea called remote working. And we have already started seeing more and more companies are actually hiring ACCA graduate from different part of the world. Can you imagine you get a job serving a company that could be like thousands of kilometers away and getting their salary? You know, can you imagine if you're hired by a UK company that you're paid in pounds sterling, which is more than 6 times of Malaysia, but you don't have to go there. You can stay in Malaysia and do the work because of remote working. So it has been quite normal, and it become the trend nowadays. You see, even Malaysia is trying to follow the trend. That's why we're trying to come up with law that tells people that you don't have to work 5 days anymore. You can work from home. You can see that the trend is already coming in, and we are there. And the question is, why are you given the job? Because they recognize your qualification. So if you have a qualifications that has that kind of portability, you're going to have a lot of advantage, right? Okay. Now, just to finish off, the last two are the lesser or the not so strong advantage, I would say. But the funding opportunities is there. Because of the recognitions, you can actually get various kind of scholarships. We offer scholarships as well at Genesis Origo. I remembered example, M-Bank also has M-Bank Scholars, where they sponsor students to study ACCA, and they actually want you to work with them. Can you imagine, get people to give you scholarships, and then at the end of the scholarships, you actually have a job waiting for you? There's different kind of financing schemes available. It's actually quite easily accessible. You can do a Google and find out. And finally, there's also academic credit. I'm just going to give you an example. Like if you have an ACCA, you can actually do example a master's degree with exemption. That means you don't need to do everything in your master's, like what I've said, because of the recognition. So that will be some of the advantages that I would quote here. But the most important is recognition. It's like you're gonna drive a Continental car and people just look at the car and say, "Wow, that's the car you're driving." So that qualification is like the kind of car that you're going to carry with you. Like you want the branding. At the end of the day, it's all about that. Okay, so I hope that will share a bit about why we as ACCA ourselves, we are actually we hold pride to our qualification. Mr. I pass back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Lau, for the great sharing, right? Our next area is to talk about the job opportunity. Just let me share slide a little bit first here. Okay, so we do have a common misconception here again, Mr. Lau.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
audience, being an accountant, we can only work as an accountant. Now, I share my side of story here. Years ago, I was an accountant, but now I'm still an accountant by the title, but I'm no longer processing accounts. So I'm a teacher, I'm a lecturer, and I'm a trainer. So every time when people ask me this, okay, Mr. What do you do for a living? I say, I'm a teacher. Oh, so what do you teach? Huh? I teach ACCA program, accounting program, ACCA top, huh? It's the same thing again. So where do you teach, Mister? Oh, but this college, this center, and this that. Oh, where they are, there will be questions after questions and after questions. So I learned my lesson. To cut it short, when people ask me, okay, Mister, what do you do for a living? I would just tell them I'm an accountant. Right? Then they will ask, do you do account? And the fact is not. I think people have a really a big misconception that accounting can only do accounting. All right. So a more layman example is I would like to check with Mr. Lau on this. Mr. Lau, when someone calls us, so we will answer. So what do we call that? Is it pick up the phone, right?
Yeah.
We pick up the phone.
Yeah.
So once we finish the conversation, what do we say?
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, goodbye. Yeah, but what is the process of ending the conversation? We pick up the phone. After that, we
put it down.
put it down, or
Yeah.
we hang up the phone.
Yeah. Okay.
We hang up the phone. Okay, put it down is
now,
a bit more.
now we don't hang up the phone because we press the button.
No, when you say put down, right? I know
Yeah.
your house phone was not hang on the wall.
Yeah.
Your house phone
Yeah.
was put on the table. But
Yeah.
even older days, right, people hang the phone on the wall. So when we finish the conversation, and then we hang up the phone.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But with a smartphone nowadays, we don't hang out a smartphone on the wall. And then when I talk about having teleconversation, my hand was like this just now, isn't it? But do we still use a receiver like this as often as last time? Or do we use a smartphone? So why not when we talk phone, the hand sign should be like this, isn't it? But why do people still do this? Because we have the whole habit. We continue to have the habits. That accountant can only work as an accountant. So I think that's not right. Okay, so I would like to give a very strong message to everybody. Accountant is more than just being an ACCA. You are not restricted yourself by being just an accountant. So allow me to share the slide here. Okay, again we have great sharing from Mr. Lau. Hang on. Job opportunities of being an ACCA member. Okay, bang of the yeah. All right, so even the ACCA member, you could be the assurance provider. So maybe Ms. Lau can elaborate a little bit on this. What's the meaning of assurance provider?
Okay. Well, you see, the word assurance is actually giving assurance to people now, and assurance is actually very important. It's about confidence. I give an example. Even in marriage, what you need is actually trust and confidence, right? We want confidence and trust in the relationship we have with another person. In business, it's the same. Like if you go and buy share of a company, for example, you go and buy share of any listed company. Let's say you buy share in Maybank or Public Bank. You want to have an assurance that the money that you have put in the share is actually a company that you can be trusted. So an assurance is actually given in many ways and in many perspectives. It could be to somebody external, like what you see just now. As a shareholder, you want assurance from the external auditor. Government also, we need to have an audit. That's why we have government audit called public sector audit. And the key theme nowadays is always about ESG. So ESG is not the same with MSG, okay? So there's nothing to do with food. ESG is to do with environment, social, and governance. It's the keyword that we have here. In fact, if you look at example, the basic we can say like flavor of people coming from the European side. They nowadays they don't really see so much about whether the company make profit or not, but they look a lot at your ESG standard. In fact, they put so much focus on that so what if you have a company that makes so much profit but you destroy the environment? They don't like you, they will not invest in you, they will basically even go against you. So that's why we need to come to that level. In fact, Malaysia is trying very hard to come to that understanding. We see a lot of companies, even in Malaysia, the listed companies are not really adopting that standard yet. When we tell them about triple bottom line, they look at us and say, what bottom and what line? Okay. They don't know what is sustainability reporting. A lot of them has not even heard of integrated reports. What more we talk about sustainability report. So these are the things that you see that there's a lot of very, like you say, okay, so what kind of job that you're doing? All that are the job that you can pick it up. So you are from that level. So part of the subjects that we study just now will contribute to this kind of job, like auditing. Even the SBL papers will contribute to this. Of course, that's one angle. Okay. So if you join the Big Four, this is definitely one of the main arm that you can go in.
Yes.
That's the assurance provider, I would say.
To add a little bit on Mr. Lau point just on these ESG things, right? I think traditionally investor will prefer to look at your first bottom line, which is the financial result, whether you're looking for that. But in recent decades, people start to realize that what drives a profit is not just about selling things. It must have some inner reason for your success, or what is the root cause for your poor performance. Like what Mr. Lau said just now, if you destroy the environment to make more profit, I think the profit will be just short term. Because soon after, the regulator, the government will go after you.
Yeah.
Because you destroy the environment. And when this news becomes public, your stakeholder will start to leave you, your customer will leave you, your employee will leave you, your supplier will leave you, and eventually, if you cannot perform, the shareholder will leave you as well. So if talking about the awareness about this ESG, of course, in the white man country, they do have a higher awareness. Back in Malaysia here, we start to understand it, and that's why ACCA have incorporated a lot of this kind of idea into the syllabus to educate students, not just UK, it's all over the world, is that if you want to make profit, don't just look at the sales, but look at something else first, right? So I think we have a second category of employment, which are to really trouble Mr. Lau of explaining to us, the enterprise analyst.
Yeah, this, just look at the kind of keywords that they have here. You know that they are acquired from subjects like finance and performance management. Now, okay, let's just ask a simple question. Do we have a course that we can study so that you become a CEO of a company? You probably will tell people, oh, I want to be a programmer, then you would think of computer science. I want to be an accountant, you think of accounting qualification. So is there a course that teach you to be a CEO? Is there a course that teach you to be a CFO? Now, you really look at it, that there's no such course, right? But it's because we know that are the kind of jobs that they need certain knowledge to be embedded in what you do and the skill sets that you have. So look at these things that we see a corporate finance, or basically looking at a performance analyst, or even a project accountant or project manager. In fact, project management is a very interesting thing, because you are talking about something that is short term. I mean, when I say short term, I don't mean it's like 2 or 3 months. It could be a 2 or 3 years project, but it has a lifespan. And project management is very different from just leading a business or a company, because you do not know what you're expecting. You're talking about dealing with a lot of challenges that can come, just pop, suddenly it appears, and you need to know how to solve the problem. Now, I always encourage, why students needs to have a lot of exposures. Why schools always tells you to join the COCO activities. They always say, go into a club, lead a project, because that's where your employers look at, do you have the skills to solve problem? And that kind of skills is what you basically cultivate even at the schools level, and you go all the way up in a business, and people like to look at that. Now that's the enterprise part of your studies, the kind of jobs that you can get, which is another angle. So if you don't like the assurance thing, you might find interest in this part of the work, that you will work in a corporation, and then you help to look into that kind of aspects, performance, dealing with money and finance. So that's the enterprise, I would say.
I think to put a quick summary on this is assurance provider. Basically, what we can do is we do checking, and then we add value to the report. The report has been verified, have been checked, and we can give it the credibility that is for. So, an enterprise analysts, they are doing more like solving problems.
Yep.
Problems relating to money.
Yep.
Solving problems. So we have the third category now. The stakeholder reporter.
Okay. I really love the way how you so bombastically arrange the job opportunities. All right, so it looks so fancy. Okay, actually, by the time you come here, you see like, wow, there's so many kind of jobs that we can do, right? Yeah, exactly. That's what opportunities is all about when you become an ACCA. You can see we're talking about things like tax expert. That's my thing. All right, so I really love that. Okay, investors relationship, a professional, public sector reporter. So these are the other section, I would say, very close to what Mr. Ng's expertise is all about. To confess a thing, I don't like what he likes. Okay, so I am a person that I hate accounting. All right, although I'm an ACCA, I hate accounting because I don't like to deal with the reporting section. Okay, but you see, I survive. In fact, I do so well by specializing in tax, in training, even in terms of you can see governance. All right, so that shows that there's always something for you on the plate. You don't have to love everything in ACCA, but you can just specialize in one, and there is enough for you. There's enough job for you. Okay, so I don't know whether that helps to cover, but you're preparing accounts, and we're talking about accounts like big companies there. Okay, so at the end of the day, Tesla has just reported their recent financial results, and one of those things that people are questioning is about their cryptocurrencies. They sold off their bitcoins as per the report, and a lot of people are wondering and asking questions like, what about the crypto? When did they sell? How did they account for it? Now, I want to let you know that there's no standards actually in place to deal with cryptocurrencies. So
we don't have a direct standard.
Yeah.
No direct
So
standard.
so you can see, right, that I think suddenly why I want to bring that, because people are talking about, will accountants job obsolete? Hey, hello, we have problems that we don't even have solutions, and you think the robots will give you a solutions? We still need brains out there to deal, and things will only change. There are going to be more and more complicated stuff coming into the business world, and you need to learn how to account for it. That's why now I believe Tesla is opening up a problem, and the world will start to realize that, oh yeah, we don't have a framework for that. I would say that's Mr. Ng's problem, but we're talking about job, right? So you can see that's the kind of job you have. In fact, you can get a job even to be part of the standard setter, though this kind of reporting standard board that they still
No,
need
I hate them, to be honest. There's
They
so many
create more.
standards for me to learn and for me to teach.
They create more things for you to teach and more things
Yeah.
for students to study. Okay, so I hope that share a bit to you about the stakeholder reporter.
Yeah, okay. I won't get mad when Mr. Lau say he hates accounting because, to be honest, I hate taxation as well. That's why I don't do the area and he don't do my area.
Yeah, okay.
But
That's why
if
we
I want to
never.
put, because this is my area, other than the tax side, but the last one, this is my area. So what stakeholder reported basically in layman terms they do is that they be the front man to communicate information to the level of the stakeholder. So we have a lot of technical jargons, a lot of complicated processes happening at the back end there. So we don't think the stakeholder will understand exactly what we're doing. So we need to have an output, which let's say financial statement, for example, we need an output, and we need to communicate this output in human language to the stakeholders. So just now when Mr. Lau talked about whether AI will replace the accountant, I think we do have a lot of debates and here and there. And then a lot of talk seminars or even speaking, in order to attract the eyeballs, they will put this title, AI will replace accountant 5 years down the road. So I've been hearing this for more than 15 years and I'm still not jobless as of today. I don't think anytime sooner, or at least through my limited knowledge here, that the AI is possible to replace an accountant. Because I don't think human will have a full trust on a computer. All right. So computer will also take instruction from human. So how will you know the human program the AI is a good human or the bad human? A good human, you get good AI. Bad human, you get bad AI. So eventually, we need not just human, but we need more and more human to perform the check and balance role that we don't listen to only one side. We would like to have professional judgment, which AI, of course, they can do that, they learn from human as well. But do you have a check and balance? Would you trust a machine checking another machine, a computer checking another computer? Or would the computer be able to communicate to you, customize the language and the understanding level to you? So that is at the moment is a stakeholder reporter's job, is to make sure complicated information can be summarized to simple enough that stakeholder from all level can also understand what the company is doing. So we come to the last category we've been covering, Mr. Lau, so much today. So Mr. Lau, this is the last one. Don't worry, after that you can go home. Transformation driver, your area as well.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I love the word transformation driver. Okay. What we have a role to transform, and in fact, we have a role to turn around. That's why we even have turnaround accountants and turnaround consultants. I don't know whether some of you have heard of that. That means we
For
go
the
to
white
business.
knight, right, Mr. Lau, the white knight?
Yeah. We
The
go
white
to
knight.
those businesses that they are dying, and we thought, some people thought that my businesses is going to die anyway, so what can we do? There's a lot of things we do as a consultants. I just give a short idea, like we go to them and look at their accounts and look at their business model, look at the people, and we think that they can be saved and there is a value to save them, so we can help them. Example, cash flow is king. The reason why they die is because they can't pay their creditors, they can't settle their debts, and they might take actions to be liquidated in the court. So we can go to the banks and talk to the banks and say, let's just stop business. You sue them, you get nothing. Why not? Let's come to a deal. We help them to turn around, but you give us some time. Look at the plans that we have on the paper, on the table, or what we are planning to do for them and how the business can come back again. But what we need is time. That's already something that we're doing as a consultant. This called turnaround consultant. That is example of how we have a transformation driver. We transform people, like what we are doing partially in education, because we believe in what we are and what we do. And we believe education is a way of changing life, and this is a good qualification. It's affordable qualification. So that's why we are promoting it to you. All right. And you see, there's just so many things that can stay here. You could be a director, like what I am, for example, sitting in the board of two public companies. And what do? We are like, we call a watchdog position. I mean, we're not a dog lah, but it's called a watchdog position. But we are representing minority shareholders to look at what the managements and the executives are doing. We are basically guarding the interests of the minority shareholder. So that's just so many things that we do, right? And in fact, because of what we know, we sometimes could be the driver of change. We are the one that spearhead and bring new propositions to the business and tell the management, hey, just look at that, if we don't grow from now, what will happen to business? So these are all things that we do. Well, I think there's just so much that we can do, right? Being an ACCA. So at the end of the day, I just thought of sharing, like, we deal with a lot of angles, and that's why we have to learn a lot of things and know a lot of stuff that concerns the running of the business. So eventually, that is why you can see that ACCA could fit in just so many different kind of jobs. So what are we trying to tell you is, you're taking a qualifications that at the end of the day, you have choices. All right, you have choices. So you don't have to say like, oh, at the end of ACCA, I just want to go to audit firm. A lot of common ACCA graduates do that because they thought this is the first stage of acquiring experience. But don't look at your life at that stage, because your life don't ends at that stage. Your life just starts at that stage. That whatever you acquire is to make you a better professionals at the end. So we don't just want to call yourself an accountant. You just become a professional. You could be a consultant. You could have many roles that you play. So I hope this sharing would benefit our audience today, because at the end of the day, I think as a parent, you're going to ask a question. If I'm going to invest in my kid a course that at the end of the day, what are they going to do? Now, at the end, it's all about their future. That this is a big decisions in their life. So at the end of the day, if they study something that they don't know what they're going to do, I don't think that's the right thing to do. So this is why we are ACCA, and we think it's good. That's why we are here to tell you that it's a good qualification. So that's what we want to say.
Okay, all right. So thank you so much, Mr. Lau, for sharing so much with us today. Now this will be the end of our sharing session today. So we have a Q&A session. So if you have any question to ask, you can type in the comment area here. So we'll give you some time to think about it. All right. So if there's questions, we'll try our best to answer you. All right. So while waiting for you, just excuse ourselves. We'll play some music for a few minutes and come back to check the comment then. So I'll see you in a while, everyone. All right, I don't see any comment from you guys at the moment, so I guess there are no questions to ask for now. But if you have, please feel free to contact us at genesisorigo.com. So I would like to invite Mr. Lau to come back here to really say thank you again to Mr. Lau for the sharing today. Okay, thank you, Mr. Lau.
Thank you very much.
Okay, all right.
Thanks for supporting and being. Oh, there's a comment by the way. Oh, there's
really?
a comment.
Okay.
Thanks.
Let me see that.
Yeah. Thank you for supporting and show that there's still somebody there with us. We know we have taken a bit more time. All right. Okay. Jenny did have a question. Oh yeah, we answered Jenny's questions just now.
Yes. We did. Okay. All right.
Thank you guys.
Let's see you again next time then. All right.
Bye bye.